Hi, my name is Jennifer. I am the founder of Humanist Learning Systems and the author of several books. And one of the things I teach is humanistic business management. And I like this graphic that I've got up here right now because when it comes to business, we all need to remember that businesses are run by humans, for humans, and that the welfare of humanity actually matters. Our businesses are not monoliths existing in their own world. They exist because we have customers who have problems, and we have problems, and the society in which we live have problems, and ideally our businesses are going to help other people's problems. We're going to do so in a way that benefits our community and doesn't put a burden on our community, and we're going to make money all at the same time. That's the ideal, right? And I think it's really important to have that ideal firmly in our heads so that we don't end up making decisions that help us and hurt everybody else, right? Because if we do that, it's really, really short-sighted. Now, one of the big conversations we have in economics is what drives our economy. Now, an economy is just the methods by which we distribute resources. So we all need food, we all need housing, we all need health care. And, maybe I want to eat an apple. That's a resource. Where am I going to get that apple? How am I going to get it into my house? Where is it coming from? That's all economic activity. All right. And those are all problems that have to be solved. And that's what our businesses are ideally set up to do, is to make it easier for those resources to get to the people who want and need them. All right. And there's a variety of different ways that we can set up this economy. Now, the reason I want to talk about this right now is that our current president just had a bunch of meetings with business people to talk about how we can get rid of regulations so that they can build their businesses bigger. And I guess the assumption is that if their businesses are bigger, then they're going to have more employees and more people will be employed. But that's an assumption, and it's a wrong assumption. And that's because businesses don't drive the economy. Right? I don't know how many times I have to say this, but capitalists, and I'm a capitalist, but we don't drive the economy. Right? Business owners don't drive the economy. The reason a business is in business is because they have customers. Right? No customers, no business. And every small business owner knows this. If they do not have customers, they do not have a business. So the customers come first in the economy. All right? And I didn't mean that as the customer is always right, but the customer comes first because without the customers, you don't have a business. Right? The customer needs something. Your business is designed to help them get that. That's why you have a business. And when we're talking about employment in particular, we need to understand that the businesses only hire people if they have enough customers that they can't satisfy their customers with their current level of hiring. The only way we get more employment is if we have more customers and more demand. All right. So when we have politics focused on how do we help the business owner, we're doing it all wrong. We're asking the wrong questions, because the business owner can talk about regulations all they want, but at the end of the day, what's going to increase employment is demand. And the demands are coming from the consumer, not from the business owner. Business owners don't drive the economy. They respond to the needs of the economy. All right? Consumers drive the economy. So the questions we should be asking ourselves is, how do we help consumers be consumers? What do consumers need to be better consumers? All right. How do we more effectively distribute the goods and services that our economy produces so that our consumers can consume those goods and services? And there's a variety of different ways to do it. Obviously, we can talk about capitalism, we can talk about socialism, we can talk about communism, we can talk about all the hybrid systems where it's half capitalism, half social. I don't want to get into that right now. All right. The point of this rant about humanistic business management is to recognize that focusing on workers, because who are consumers? They're us. They work for a living, right? There simply aren't enough business owners to be consumers for everybody. If the only people who ever consume are the business owners, we don't have an economy. All right, we need our workers to be able to consume. And I think Henry Ford, paid his employees enough that they could buy one of his cars, because without them, he doesn't have a business, right? We need to think about our consumers. The consumers are the workers, who then turn around, they take the money that they earn and they consume with it. That's how the economy actually works. That's why we need things like minimum wages. The minimum wage is not, a burden on the business owner. It's to ensure that workers have enough money that they can consume, and that the government doesn't have to subsidize your salaries, the salaries the business owner is willing to pay, so that these people can actually function in society and participate in society. Right? That's what a minimum wage is for, is to ensure that business owners don't drive down wages. Because let me tell you, business owners drive down wages. We don't want to pay our employees any more than we absolutely have to. Because it's in our best interest as the business owner to keep wages down, because that means more profit for us, right? But that's not good for the economy. The economy needs consumers. And so we've set up a social safety net to help people who aren't making enough money to buy things like food so that they don't die of starvation, to have health care so that they don't die unnecessarily from diseases that are treatable. We subsidize housing, for goodness sake. We subsidize food, we subsidize housing, we subsidize health care, which is great. No one should be suffering in an economy that's as rich as ours. We have enough money to fund these things. My point is, though, that we're subsidizing these things because the wages aren't high enough for the consumers to consume them on their own. So they have to be subsidized. Something like 48% of the economy is subsidized by the government. And the reason we're subsidizing that is because employers are not paying enough. So for the economy to keep going, they have to be subsidized. So we're paying taxes on ourselves to then redistribute that money so that our employers don't have to pay wages that would actually be where they should be. All right. And those wages don't happen on their own. The reason we have to set a minimum wage is because without that, yes, some employers would pay their employees a living wage, but they're going to end up competing with people who don't. And the people who don't are going to have an unfair advantage over the ones that do. And so in order to make sure that burden is shared equally across the economy, we have a minimum wage. And that minimum wage is supposed to be a minimum wage for subsistence, not a minimum wage for like entry-level jobs. Healthcare should not be subsidized to 400% of the poverty level, for goodness sake. All right? We need to stop acting as if the greed motivation is what drives our economy, because it's not. All right? We need to stop taxing ourselves and giving that money to business owners so that they don't have to pay their employees a living wage. Because at this point, I think only like 50%, 52% of the economy is paying taxes, right? And we are subsidizing business owners who aren't paying the living wage to their employees. That's what we're doing. We're stealing from ourselves and giving it to business owners. That's our policy right now. All taxation is redistribution. So I understand that, like, why should why should the government steal from me and redistribute it to other people? They're doing it anyways. That's happening. As soon as you pay taxes, that's happening. The question is, how are we going to redistribute this well? And right now we're stealing from ourselves and stealing from our own healthcare, and we're stealing from our own child's education and, food programs and all, and we're giving it to business owners who refuse to pay a minimum wage that actually will support their employees. That's what we're doing. And we're doing it because the greed motivation, we have gotten to a point where for some reason our politicians have decided that business owners drive the economy. They don't. consumers drive the economy. And we need to start thinking about public policy in a way, and our businesses in a way, where we're not just talking about, well, what can I take out of my business, but what can my business do for my customers and for my employees and for me. All right, so we're talking about stakeholders. Who has a stake in my business? Well, I have a stake in my business. If I had employees, I'd have employees that have a stake in my business. My customers absolutely have a stake in my business. The state who I pay taxes to has a stake in my business. The community in which I operate has a stake in my business because I impact all of that. My business impacts all of that. And I think we should start recognizing that and basing our public policies, our taxation policies, and our business-friendly policies with that understanding in mind. All right. Now, if you want to learn more about this, the people at the Humanistic Management Network created a free program for my company called Why Humanistic Management. It talks about stakeholder value, like who are the stakeholders, really? All right, and if this is a topic that's of interest to you, I recommend taking that course. It's free at my website. There's no reason not to take it. It's about an hour long, and I think you'll really enjoy it.